All right, so we are speaking with Mr. Carl Weber. Carl, congratulations on the new show, The
Well,
Family
thank
Business
you.
New Orleans. Yes, sir. So you are creator, writer, executive producer. You wear a lot of hats.
A lot of hats.
Who did you, first of all, you introduced the show on The Family Business. Who did you cast first?
First person we cast was Brandon T. Jackson. Um, we have a really good relationship with his manager, Michael McConnell, and Michael brought him to our attention the fact that he had played Percy Jackson and a lot of characters that I had watched earlier before I really got into the TV space. Um, I was definitely familiar with him, and I thought there was a real big upside to bringing Brandon in.
But did you have Brandon in mind or did you do a search?
Well, again, he was brought to us. Hey, look, Brandon T. Jackson's available. Is if you have something for him, and we had already planned on, doing a spinoff. Um, so we said, yeah, sure. And then we started to work him into our plans.
Have they considered airing this on BET so it's exposed to a bigger audience?
Well, there's a formula. Um, First, they go to streaming, and then 6 months to a year later, they bring it to BET. And then after 3 seasons, they open the doors up to Netflix and Hulu and different companies like that to bid on things. Um, Family Business are the regular Family Business. 5 seasons have been on Netflix and it did extremely well.
Mhm. Let's talk about the city of New Orleans. How much of it did you film there?
I would say about 30%. When you're dealing with certain budgets, you have to do it smart and strategic. What myself and my co-showrunner, Indy Brown Jones, came up with was that we would film the exteriors in New Orleans, and then we would come back to Los Angeles and film the interiors. So
Okay.
it's got a real authentic feel to it.
hmm So, with everything that's happening in Los Angeles with the wildfires and everything, do you think, if there is a season two, will you continue to work in LA?
We have to. It's extremely important that we give back to the community that's given to us. Um, when I came to Hollywood, Los Angeles, um, in the like around 2015, the city has just given me so much, and I spend 3/4 of my year here, so we have to do things to give back to the community, and so many people have suffered, and it was hard. So we want to make sure that we at least bring the money that we have and put it back into the community.
hmm Have you personally been affected?
Well, I was close. I was evacuated. So that was interesting. The West Hills fire
That was
by
the first fire?
no, I think it was like the third or fourth fire. It
Okay.
was West Hills by Hidden Hills and
hmm
Bell Canyon. Funny thing, I was on a Zoom with some BET executives when we got the word. It was like I looked out the window and was like, certainly is a fire. So you know, we threw stuff in the cars. We were back that afternoon, but it was scary.
Yeah, I'm in LA. It's really been devastating. But fortunately, the people who need help, some are getting it, and hopefully more will get help.
Yeah. All we can do is pray on that one.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Let's go back to New Orleans. When you were shooting there, how many did you use a lot of local folks?
We did. Every just about I would say 80 to 90% of the people that filmed with us and all the background and extras were all folks from New Orleans. We even used the SAG New Orleans president as one of our characters. So that was a lot of fun. He was a really nice guy.
The local site president.
Yes,
Very nice. That's so cool. Now, in terms of guest stars, and I know you don't want to give too much away, but are we going to see some familiar faces?
we try to do as a team is we want to use recognizable faces. It's a formula we started with Family Business. We used it in Black Hamptons, all the movies that we've done. My belief is that when people recognize people, it's a feeling of home, and it's like that's so and so and so. I mean, we use Bobby Ewing plays the character Katie Shrugs on the original Family Business. So we have a lot of really really fun people. David Banner, um, Orlando Jones, folks like that will be popping up, and every time you turn around, it's somebody you do.
Hmm. Let me ask you one last question.
Sure.
Swamps play heavily in this show. And I don't want to get too much away, but swamps are heavily involved in the crime scene. Is that a real thing in New Orleans?
There really are swamps in New Orleans. Definitely.
But I know that, but the swamps and the gators and the criminals and the syndicates.
From all of my research, it's always been a nice place to put a body.
Wow. All right. Well, Mr. Carl Weber, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So, Mr. Pooch Hall, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Talking the family business, New Orleans. You play Floyd. Floyd is a bad mofo.
Girl, I would say shut your mouth, but my mother said, I raised you better than that. Yes, Uncle Floyd is the answer to any of the family problems. And first and foremost, I just want to say thank you to Carl Weber and the team that came together. Like, you know, he's a talented brother who got his opportunity to have his story hit the airwaves, based off of his books, and to be a part of it has been a true blessing. So huge shout out to Carl Weber to bring that entertainment to the forefront for all of us to have some great entertainment. But playing Uncle Floyd is really really fun because it's I've played a bad guy before, but not like this.
I see some similarities to Ray Donovan. What do you think?
Um, yes, and it's so funny you bring that up because here's the thing. Similar to Ray Donovan, the aspect that we are swirling around is family. And Uncle Floyd, like my character Daryl and Ray Donovan, there's nothing we won't do for family. And I feel like even myself as a father, there isn't anything I wouldn't do for my family as far as protecting them, providing for them, keeping them, safe, empowered, given wisdom, and being that person that they can, rely on in showing up. So that's kind of, where I see Floyd, um, because he loves his family. And I think that's what it comes down to. When you love your family, there isn't anything you wouldn't do for them.
Hmm. How did you get this role? Did you have to audition a lot or did they come to you?
I was approached and they said, take a look at the script. And I read the script and I loved it. And then I found out that, it was a Carl Weber production and he had already had the two other projects going and which I saw on Netflix. And I was like, wait a second. And they said, no, we're doing a New Orleans spinoff because I wasn't sure exactly what they were doing. I was like, is it to be on one of the episodes of the show that's already going? Because Ernie Hudson's my guy, Stan Shaw. And they said, no, this is a newer one. It's about the family in New Orleans. And I love New Orleans. Huge shout out to, the victims in New Orleans who went through that tragedy. And the city embraced us as a cast, and so our hearts go out to those folks who went through that tragedy, and all the families, and um, Los Angeles and the fires, and just tragedy is nothing that you can just brush off. It's something that it touches me, and it touches the cast, especially when it's in a city that you worked in, and and the people are just so wonderful.
Mhm. Can you talk to me a little bit about working with the cast? Because it really is a great cast with Brandon and Leela and
Oh
Yvette.
my goodness. Well, so Hugh, it was fun. So once I realized who was involved, and so Brandon had hit me. So Brandon and I know each other, just we go way back. And myself and Yvette and me, David and myself, David Banner and I knew Quincy when, he was like younger. We met in New York when I was doing the game. And Leela was the only one that I've seen her in passing, but her husband, Antoine Fuqua, we trained at the same gym when I was doing Ray Donovan. But Leela is for us growing up is like, that's our girl, you know what I mean? And so playing her brother and all the chemistry and camaraderie that I already had, I felt like it was like a playground, and everybody was welcoming and warm, and just having that familiarity. As actors, we trust each other, and then we're collaborating, and we're going in there knowing that, Yvette has my back. I have hers. I have Brandon's. I have Leela's. David has mine. Um, that's kind of, when you go in there having that um, familiarity and the understanding of, what, yes, we're professionals, but we're also friends. And I think that makes a big difference as far as the chemistry. And that chemistry is something that is important to us because we want to make sure as the audience is watching, they want to continue to watch. And so I think that's very important. So I think when the people see Family Business New Orleans, they're going to be hooked. And then of course we have the crossover characters who come in, and I grew up, for me, watching Good Times and Thelma with my family and stuff, and and she still B still got it. Thelma still got it, you know what I mean? So it's a blessing to see, first and foremost, us, as a community and as a culture, getting some great productions coming to the forefront, and us growing with great projects like Family Business New Orleans.
Well said. Well, if this show gets renewed like two, three seasons down the line, you see yourself going along for the ride?
Oh, absolutely. I feel like there isn't anything that we can't do. And when you have a show like this, a a premium show with a storyline that is intertwined with two other shows, we can continue to open up the world because you know, we get it for the people who like to gamble or like to go to the casinos and stuff like that. That in itself is its own world. And then when you have a family aspect of, us as a black family, trying to run a business, you're gonna have obstacles. And the one thing that we cannot, do is we can't break up. We have to stick together. And I think that's what it comes down to. And so I think with Brandon's character being my nephew and us being like close in age, we have an understanding and I know him. And so I want to make sure as he eventually takes the mantle from, my sister, that he is smart about it. You know what I mean? Because it's one of those things where you have something amazing. People always want to take what you got or they want to see you fall. And that's the one thing that I feel Floyd is. He is that voice of reason. And when it gets a little shaky or what have you, it's like, okay, I gotta get my hands dirty. And Floyd's not afraid to get his hands dirty based off of my character and the things that I've done as far as his backstory, and making sure that no one messes with my sister. So that, that's something that I would just do in real life. So just some real qualities that I bring to my character, and I think that people are gonna relate and like.
All right, well said. Well, Pooch
Thank
Hall,
you.
thank you so much for speaking with us, and
Thank
I'm
you.
looking forward to seeing more of the show.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate you. And please forgive me for being in my car. My son, he plays for Windward and he had an amazing game. There was a double overtime before, we were able to get going on the court, but we finished with a win. And the way to top it off with an amazing Zoom interview with you. So thank you so much for having me.
Well, you take care, okay?
Yes, ma'am. You as well. Have a great rest of your week and please be safe.